Welcome to a brand new week here on Breakfast Central. The team is complete. We're excited to be here. Last week, we were at Abuja from Monday up until Wednesday, bringing you details of NESG on Thursday and Friday. But now we're here. The full squad is here to bring you for the next 3 hours. Very interesting story, starting, of course, with wake-up conversations, which will give you the opportunity to share your feedback on X as well as on YouTube where we're streaming live. My name is Olive Emodieni. Welcome to Breakfast Central.
And I'm Benga Borough. Olive, we might be having first-time viewers. You said, last week we were streaming from Abuja. Where are we?
We are in Lagos.
Okay, good. The center of excellence.
Yes.
And the city of aquatic splendor. Yes, don't forget it. If you get it.
If you don't get it.
Forget about it. Yes, welcome. Hope you had a splendid weekend. I did. It was quite eventful. And it was good to let my hair down, this short hair that I have. And I hope you also had a fantastic weekend. It's the start of a brand new week. We have so many news breaking and news to follow up on. And of course, as always, our very interesting wake-up conversations. I am Benga Aboroa.
And I'm Joe Hansen, welcoming you to a Monday's edition of Breakfast Central. Well, don't forget that you can be part of the show by watching online or streaming, and you could drop a comment or two on YouTube, on X, or better still on Instagram. Wherever you find us, please go ahead and drop a comment. We'll find your comments, and we'll also feel free here to talk about them or read them out. But we're starting off with a very, very interesting conversation.
But first of all, how's your weekend?
My weekend, eventful.
Eventful.
Very eventful.
Positively eventful.
Well, yeah, eventful, because it seems like the rest just won't come. When you try to rest, there's an activity, or you have to be somewhere here and there.
You're just suffering from
Besides,
billionaires' behavior. They're always active.
Always busy.
Always busy.
Yeah. Well, I claim it. That's what they say now. I claim it. But then again, the traffic in Lagos has also caused the unrest, especially when I say unrest, like internal unrest. Everybody should have you should be peace. You should have peace, internal peace, relax. But on Friday, there was this long traffic. I'm tired of talking of traffic. Today was
what caused Friday, so?
Bad roads. There are numerous potholes on the Lekki axis.
Yeah, and
this morning, I spent 1 hour, 20 minutes, despite leaving home very early in the morning. So I was saying, maybe I need to review. I need to start waking up at 3:30 a.m.
How much sleep will you get?
I don't know.
I mean, it's not good for you. You won't be a productive and quality human being if you
leave as early as 5 a.m. You leave as early as 4:55, yet you still spend 1 hour, 20 minutes just to get from one point to the other.
Lagos State Public Works should deal with these roads as a matter of emergency, because they say time is money. You are losing productive time in traffic.
And a lot of
quality of sleep, quality of life, quality of health. It's not just building mega projects that makes one a mega city. There's also the indices of livability.
Yeah.
How do people thrive in this city? What's the quality of life?
And
these things contribute to the quality of life.
You mentioned that it really is a ripple effect. So when people are not getting adequate sleep because the roads are bad, what you would then see is if the bad road can lead to accidents, it would lead to people spending the most. We already spend
Why do you think people are easily triggered?
Exactly. And we already spend the most of our lives at work because people are either commuting to work or from work. Imagine all the time that people could add
and then doing the work
to doing the actual work. So it's a lot, and we hope that it's treated as an issue of national urgency. And I'm so sorry that I had to. I had a completely different weekend. It was a little more restful. Yesterday was a good one. I wasn't interested. I wasn't now feeling too well over the course of the weekend. I was away from my phones for the most part, but I feel a lot better. And
if I had known, I would have been calling non-stop.
It won't ring. It was
your body was telling you, Olive, it's time to come down.
I want to actually use this opportunity to give a special shout out to Miracle Ogonna and to Marvelous. These two ladies have been such wonderful blessings to my life, and they had their celebrations of their birthday, I think on Friday.
Are they twins?
They're not twins, interestingly. They're both, I know both of them separately.
But the name sounds like
Marvelous.
I know,
but Marvelous was born on the same day as Miracle. They were born the same day, the same year. They both turned 29 on Friday.
What a marvelous miracle indeed.
I love that. It's a marvelous miracle. Okay, so shout out to these ladies and thank you so much for being part of my community, core part of my community. But let's now get into the wake-up conversations this morning. Very, would I say it's an interesting story?
Yeah, it is.
So
it's one that we should be thankful for.
Yeah.
Yes. Thankful that it did not end in tears. Super Eagles were on their way from their match in, they had won their match in Lesotho. I think it was
Only by the whiskers, oh, and I'm scared. Bali.
I don't watch the match. I don't watch Super Eagles games.
So you don't watch
I
Tuesday match?
I don't.
Oh wow.
Why tension?
I don't bother. I don't want to add more stress to what I'm already going through.
There's one on Tuesday, tomorrow,
Yeah,
5 p.m.
no, I'm not. I don't.
Tomorrow we'll know if we're going to
World
Canada,
Cup
America, or
yes.
Mexico next year.
Okay, so a quick backstory. The Super Eagles had just come from, their match in Lesotho where they won. It was a 2-1 win, and they were heading to Nigeria. They had to make a temporary stop in Angola through a ValueJet chartered plane. Unfortunately, it would seem that there was a crack in the, the windshield that required them to return back to Angola, and then an emergency landing. Right. They made an emergency landing in Angola, and then ValueJet had to send another jet to pick them up and bring them back to Uyo. They've landed in Uyo in preparation for their match, the very, very defining match on Tuesday against Benin Republic that will determine if they move to the next level. We'll come to talk about the details of the match shortly, but we think that it's a miracle. It's great that we're excited that this did not become something worse than it already was.
And I have to applaud the professionalism of ValueJet.
Absolutely.
And the pilots for taking that decision at the right time, even though there will be serious cost implications for sending, how much Jet A1 fuel is, sending another plane to all the way from Lagos to
So it's not just the pilot,
Luanda,
so it's pilot and
the management.
The management.
Yes.
The entire management.
I believe this was caused by a bird strike, because what would make the wind scream to crack?
You scream to scream.
Scream.
So, some would say, because pilots, of course, you need visibility, and you could also fly blind using your navigation instruments, and say, thank God it's not Danfo people that are flying. We go manage them. Because the things we've seen with Danfo in Lagos, I remember Christian Pilford did a report, former CNN correspondent, and they told this driver that it was a driving school, that your indicators are not working. How do you know when to? He said, don't worry, you will feel it.
It's just like when they ask Nigerians about, how do you know about your recipes, when to stop? You say, oh, the ancestors just, you just know. When you put your Maggi,
no measuring,
you just
nothing.
Know when to stop from your seasoning. But
so I'm glad the pilot took the professional decision and didn't manage it all the way from Luanda to Lagos.
Yes. It could have ended in tears.
And it's carrying premium personnel.
Premium
on board.
Premium.
I mean, regardless of who he's carrying.
Yeah.
But yes, I do agree that it would have made headlines. We're glad that it didn't end there. So like we said, we applaud the professionalism of ValueJet, and we hope that this is thoroughly investigated to find out what may have led to this, and if it was any issue that involved any maintenance. I hope not.
I suspect it was a bird strike, but they would have mentioned it.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know what the full picture is, so we can't necessarily.
So when they put out a statement, they said it was a technical issue, and the pilot had to follow precautionary measures, which, of course, a professional standard.
Looking for the next
one, which was in Angola, to ensure that they touch down there.
Okay. That's the press statement by ValueJet.
Yeah.
Says ValueJet ensures safe arrival of Super Eagles ahead of crucial qualifier. ValueJet confirms that the Super Eagles and their officials have safely arrived in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, ahead of their crucial World Cup qualifier against Benin Republic. During their flight from Polokwane, South Africa, the aircraft experienced a minor technical issue about 15 minutes into the journey. In adherence to strict safety procedures, the pilot made a precautionary return to Luanda, Angola. ValueJet immediately activated its contingency plan by dispatching a replacement aircraft, ensuring the team and officials continue their journey safely and comfortably to Uyo. As the strategic airline partner of the Super Eagles, ValueJet remains steadfast in its commitment to safety, reliability, and excellence. We are proud to stand with the team as they continue their quest for World Cup qualification against Benin Republic. ValueJet management, signed by the management. So kudos to them, and congratulations to the Super Eagles. We hope that this does not in any way affect their delivery. The Super Eagles are going to be playing against the Cheetahs on Tuesday at 5 p.m. And it's a very crucial match that will determine if they'll make it to the World Cup. They need to win with at least 2 goals to be able to qualify.
Olive, you are really invested in. I think you want to go to the World Cup.
Well,
I think
three
you
goals,
have
right?
plans.
Olive has plans to go to.
3 goals, right? Okay, so they need
Yes.
to win with at least 3 goals, and it's not just them winning. They also have to play that.
Pray for South
that
Africa
South
to
Africa
draw or
loses
lose.
their game against Rwanda. So it's a two-side coin. So while we are praying,
Don't worry,
imagine-
they will lose in Jesus' name.
Imagine
South
that
Africa
kind
will
of
lose.
prayer,
Yeah.
praying that you win.
When you
and
had
pray
the
another
destiny in
country
your
to lose.
hands.
That's why. That's
I mean,
why.
we're
that's
very
why.
careless.
That's why we run away. That's why we run away from the statement that who does God support in sports?
Yeah,
It's a big
exactly.
conversation.
Joe, I also wanted to bring your attention to the fact that there are no longer minnows in world
No.
football. I mean, how can you play Lesotho? The entire population of Ikeja local government is bigger than the country of Lesotho,
yes, I
and we're
agree.
playing 2-1.
2-1.
In the past, if you
And we're
heard
even
we're playing
scared.
Benin Republic, I mean, you'd be so confident that, I mean, when the
But
Mokota
now-
were playing. But now, I mean, we have to, there are no minnows anymore.
And
Everyone has
this
stepped
could
up.
be the opportunity
Yeah.
for them to make it to the World Cup if we're not careful. They're
And
currently
Olive,
leading
yeah,
with
okay.
17 points.
Wow.
So if we don't put our house in order, I think we're third place with 14 points.
Start depending on,
So,
we
we
need
start
to win. It's a
doing
must win. It's a very
EOJ.
crucial, crucial
But
game.
isn't it funny that it's the same coach that Nigeria said wasn't good enough that is taking Benin Republic to where they are going to now?
Who's their coach?
I mean,
Ghana.
looking at the likes of Grow and so
Oh, okay.
you know.
Now, and finally, just before we go on the story, Olive, I remember sharing the backstory of Benin. They weren't always cheaters. Now they've adopted the name of a wild animal.
Yeah.
Cheaters. Before they were squirrel, they were me, and they used to lose.
Now
So
they
the management, the country said, look, what kind of, everybody is Super Eagles, elephants of Cote d'Ivoire, lions of
Lions
Cameroon,
of
wild
Cameroon.
animals. You are
Why you
choosing
using squirrel?
squirrel. So me. And they used to beat them when they were squirrels, but now they are cheaters.
They are cheaters,
can run
they're very
fast.
fast.
Yes.
Okay, let's hear what Nigerians are saying about this, and then we'll get to another interesting, sad, and very disappointing story about football. Echezon Anzeribe says, track windshield happens all the time on airplanes. Good thing is just the outer layer of the windshield. My question is, why are we conveying the team on the regional jets that can't make SA to Uyo trip non-stop? I don't think it's that they can't make SA to
said that?
Uyo. It was because they stopped to
It
refuel
was, yeah.
in Angola. I don't think it's that they can't make SA to Uyo non-stop. Anyway, I think that they stopped. But anyway, let's see. In all this, and it was even the crack that made them go to.
Yeah, it was
Angola.
because of
Angola.
they were headed to
They were headed to
Polokwane.
Uyo.
from
They had to
Polokwane
move to-
In all
Angola
this,
as well.
kudos to Value Jet. They've handled the Super Eagles well. Sent a new plane to take them from Angola.
Yeah, kudos.
Great customer service. We must applaud them.
Absolutely.
Away from Puja, this one says this should be investigated. South Africa. You people should be
to
calming
affect
down.
the boys psychologically.
We're calming down.
Maybe somebody threw a stone from Polokwane.
But I see our South African brother.
This is
Sinokule Matabata.
Sinkule.
You guys didn't pronounce it.
Sinkule.
But it's Sikulun.
Sorry,
Okay.
go ahead.
Matabata. He said, waiting with this wahala now. Our boys got the car for their next match. Oh, I beg. South Africa government, una fit throw away small juju to help.
This person is giving South Africa with a sprinkle
I think
of
what he did
Nigeria.
was he wrote it in English
Then
and then went on Google to translate it into Nigerian
pidgin,
pidgin English. That's why you have a little of those. Anyway, let's check out what I think that's all we're going to take on what Nigerians are saying. Let's move on to another story. Still staying with football,
still
guys.
football.
Yes.
Now, hooliganism in Nigerian football is starting to become not just a problem, but it's starting to kill Nigerian Professional Football League. Just over the weekend, Kano Pillars fans attacked Shooting Stars players, ops shooting. And then it became a chaos of some sorts, just like what you see on the screen. The reason is because there was an eventual goal that ended the game in a tie. But then take a look at what happened right here. Don't forget too that this is not the first time this is happening. We've had other instances where games were played Goals were scored in the final minute. Officials had to dress like police officers to escape. And then some players ended up being beaten black and blue. Fans had to find their way. Just look at the chaos.
I mean, this is terrible. Football is called the beautiful game for a reason.
Look at the chaos.
And the football lovers imbibe the spirit of sportsmanship. We don't have, this has just been sore and salty, as Gen Zs will say. You win some, you lose some. You do better next time. And that's why in Nigerian Professional Football League, you often find that there are very few away victories. Because
very few.
The match officials are intimidated. You have this spectacle of hooligans, this pitch invasions. This is terrible, and I hope the NFF will clamp down on this. We should be seeing point deductions. He had to take the intervention of the Nigerian police force to use their tear gas and to disperse the unruly crowd there at the Sani Abacha Stadium.
This was inside the dressing room after the
Stars player.
And this is really sad.
You went to play a football game, and the next thing you're running for your life.
And you know, the responsibility lies on the host team. The Kano Pillars here being the host team, they are playing at home. And they have attacked these people. It was 94 minutes into the game. It was 94 minutes into the game that there was an attack. No, they scored 94 minutes into the game. So it was basically them being disappointed. And that's a normal feeling, right? With football, it's a normal feeling to feel that just when you thought it was over, your opponent scores against you. But then, where is the spirit of sportsmanship? The NPFL laws provide for the host team, you know, to be responsible for the safety and the security of the team who's coming to visit, the visiting team. Unfortunately, I think these things will keep happening because there aren't strong sanctions. This time, Shooting Stars is at the receiving end. In April, Shooting Stars was the aggressor. They did against, I think it was April 60, Ikorodu, a team in Ikorodu and Ikorodu FC.
Yeah.
And they basically attacked them because, again, they were very bitter about how the game was going. What this shows is that they are very strong. There are not enough punitive measures. What we find is that oftentimes they slam a fine against them. 5 million here, 10 million there. There's not enough punitive measures until we start to treat these assaults as criminal cases. Pick up these people, take them to court, throw a few people in jail, ban them from participating. Some of the measures we've seen that the NFL has imposed against them was that one, apart from fine, saying that they will play at home without anyone, you know, any visitor. It will be like a closed game, no spectators. But that's not enough.
Closed door games.
Closed door games and fines are not enough. If we don't start treating it as a criminal offense
and point deductions,
arrest people, throw some people in prison, when they would understand the implication of this. What again is really the spirit of sportsmanship. But let's take a look at this video. We'll come back and share some more thoughts.
All right. Well, anyway, Ahmed Musa, of course, well-known, general manager of Kano Pillars, and of course, a former Super Eagles. Argentina will never forget him in a hurry. He says, I, Ahmed Musa, the general manager of Kano Pillars Football Club, extend my deepest and most sincere apologies for the unfortunate, painful, and disgraceful incident that occurred during our game against Shooting Stars Sports Club on Sunday evening. What transpired against Shooting Stars is heartbreaking, shameful, and completely unacceptable. It does not represent the true values, identity, or the proud history of Kano Pillars. This club has always stood for community, passionate respect, values that must never be overshadowed by violence or indiscipline. As a club with deep roots and loyal supporters, we expected to set an example of fairness and honor on and off the pitch. Sadly, today, we fell far short of that standard, and he went ahead to say he tenders an unreserved apology to the players, coaches, officials, and supporters of Shooting Stars Sports Club, to the match referees and league officials who were caught in this terrible situation, to the Nigeria Premier Football League Board and its partners at JTI, to the league organizers, and to every football fan across Nigeria and beyond who watched these scenes with anger, shock, and disappointment. I know how painful it must have been to witness something so damaging to our game, and I'm deeply, deeply sorry. Well, this is the general manager apologizing, and at the end he says, I assure everyone that the entire situation will actually is going to work close with the relevant authorities to identify those responsible for the shameful act, and they will face the full consequences of their actions. We do hope that that's exactly what will happen. But what are Nigerians saying about this before we go straight to our very last story concerning the violence that usually erupts in almost every, not every, so to say, but in most crucial and most important games in the Nigerian Professional Football League? Olamide the printer says, and people wonder why foreign teams won't come here to play. If we can do this to ourselves, what message are we passing to the rest of the world? Well, Olamide, I agree with you. I agree with you. Although Nigeria is not the only country that does this. If you go to Brazil, Paraguay, hey,
everybody is fighting.
Yeah, be careful. You know, banish the team from home for the season and deduct their points. They must lose all 3 points for this match. I agree with you, Gundile Kazim. That seems like a very good decision to be made.
No, I mean, maybe a few home games, but the entire season.
My brother, maybe we need to take a strong.
Maybe a strong, 500,000 naira
if you
fine.
know that as a
But
fan,
you didn't take it against Shooting Stars.
And so we can't start. We can't go back.
You must
time.
start somewhere.
Going forward, we can
Somebody
then
must
say
be a scapegoat.
exactly. We can then say going forward, if you do this, this is going to be the repercussion. If you check the fines that Kano pillars have accumulated in the past few years, it's incredibly crazy. So you say to them that, first of all, Kano pillars are the aggressors in this case. The Shooting Stars are the recipients. In April, Shooting Stars were the aggressors. We need to ensure that we start treating it like a criminal offense, that there are people who are charged to court until we can see that we evolve beyond just fines and maybe saying that their matches will not be viewed. Let them even be banned from the stadium. Let's start seeing point deduction. We'll continue repeating this vicious cycle. People must learn to lose fairly. When you're excited.
Olive, what team do you support in the MPFL?
I can't say. I don't support any of them for now.
Oh, Delta State doesn't have
For now.
a team in the MPFL. I support Sunshine Stars of Akure. And he, being an Akwa Ibom indigene, supports Dakada FC, but they are not doing good at all.
Well,
they are nowhere to be found on the
I
table.
haven't been as I
dash you.
I
suppose Sporting
I stay right now.
Sporting
Whoever is
Lagos.
playing a great game at the moment.
No, Sporting Lagos is fantastic.
But I would say that again, I think we should quickly move on from this because it's a very important final.
Very important conversation.
But just to say that the takeaway from this would be that we must learn to be gracious with losing as we are with winning.
And imbibe the spirit of sportsmanship.
Exactly.
You win some, you lose some.
And
Olive has won so many journalistic awards.
Yeah.
I don't still beef her.
Yeah, I like that. And I like what we just did here, if you notice. To our viewers, we just started the Monday morning with a lighter story.
It's not light, so this...
No. When I mean light, it's not our usual political story. But now we are going to that.
And nobody has
story
died.
The big story from the weekend.
Which will then be
from
one
Friday,
of our top stories today.
Which we kind of like highlighted and touched on, myself and Benga, when we spoke with Omoyele Showore on Friday. The story has got to do with the presidential pardon. Nigerians are reacting completely differently. The newly formed, would I say, no, let me not call it the newly formed. The political party, ADC, have come out to speak strongly criticizing. A presidential candidate has spoken, a lot of politicians are talking. Nigerians, as it were, also talking about President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's pardon given to 75.
There's also reports that Alice was cut down to 147. I'm not sure. I saw that, but I know for now what we know is 175.
Nigerians are reacting differently, and reports has it that a lot of persons are starting to have a rethink of why this move and why now. Looking at, for me personally,
and if it was properly thought.
it was properly done. So I'm sure Nigerians know the story. There's no need for us to go into the story as well. What if they don't? Stick around with us because we'll still have the conversation on that story later on. But it's got to do with the fact that why now and the type of pardon that was granted to a certain kind of people in terms of research. The names are all over the place. You could check the state government website. You find them. Take, for instance, some of the names there mentioned: Oroke Michael Chibweze, age 21, sentenced 5 years, can be Sativa in 2023. There's also a percentage done by SEC, which we're also going to have later on in the course of the show. There you have drug-related offences had over 40% of those who have been punished by the president. And then illegal mining, 34%. Financial white-collar crimes, 17%. 14% for violent capital offences. Property hijacking and maritime, 6%. Arms-related offences, 3%. Human trafficking and exploitation, 2%. And miscellaneous, 2%. There's also statements that one of the person that was also granted pardon was one who had kidnapped an SAN. Wow. Mike, who had kidnapped him while he was crying then after he was released.
I remember.
Exactly. There you have the picture there on the screen. And we don't want to go into details. Let's just get our reactions first and know what we really think about it, you know.
Okay. So we'll get into the reactions in a moment, but just to say, we're going to look deeper into the story and what the story means. There are others who have been pardoned. Names like Ken Sariwa have come up as well.
Even Heba Bakwole.
Exactly. So the question is, we all recall when Ken Sariwa was unjustly, many would argue, killed in 1995 by the Sani Abacha regime. And beyond pardoning, what acts would maybe feel like it's comforting to his family? It's one thing to pardon, to maybe clear their name, but it's another thing to have restorative justice. Should the pardon be enough to say that he has found justice?
They were also awarded posthumous national honors.
But what would that look like for their families? Would they feel like this is compensation enough? Would they feel like this is justice enough? Especially because of the way in which they were unfortunately taken out of this part of, eternity. But let's get what Nigerians are saying. Let's get Nigerians' reaction to this on X, and then we'll come back with more reactions here. Why are there disproportionate number of drug offenders on this list? Out of the 175 total, roughly 50 to 60 cases, about 30 to 35% involve drug offenses, primarily possession, dealing, or importation of substances like cannabis, cocaine, heroin. For instance, in the clemency section alone, at least 30 entries explicitly cite drugs. The reduced sentences category adds another 20 or so, including multiple cases of cocaine importation and cannabis trafficking. So these are the ones that have raised a lot of eyebrows, right? Abalaji Rasak, he says, I won't be surprised if some of the slots for the presidential pardon were sold. Nigerians don't miss opportunities to make money, no matter how absurd it may seem. Balazi.
When it rains, to use pedestrian bridge, area boys
collect
take
money
toll.
for you.
The most ridiculous ways to extort people. I don't even know how to think of it. They make money from it, even in tragedy. So it's not, I'm not going to put it beyond them.
Who compiled the names of those recommended for presidential pardon? What sort of people made that list, and what exactly are they trying to communicate to society? Presidential pardon is meant for mercy, not for murderers, terrorists, or kidnappers. Once all appeals are exhausted for violent crimes, justice should stand. When people who have abused public trust or manipulated the system are the ones being pardoned, what message does that send to citizens who are struggling to do things the right way? This, without doubt, is the worst form of presidential pardon in history. Power to forgive must have boundaries. Otherwise, justice becomes a joke, and the lives of victims mean nothing.
Thank you. Very spot on. Very spot on. Chima says about 30% of these people were into drugs. A few had what I classed as unpardonable. Summary of the unwritten message: is it that crime pays in Nigeria? Well,
and this is the reaction that people usually have when we talk about this non-kinetic approach to dealing with terrorism.
And before you make such a decision, I wonder if the presidency, if they don't sit down in groups, you should have group meetings.
Thank you.
Focus groups.
Thank you, Benga.
Let's run statistics through this. What sort of optics are we going to get?
Thank you.
Publish this. And, preempt the reaction of Nigerians. Because Nigerians are very smart people. They must talk. And what message are you sending if a huge percentage of the clemency given is going to drug-related offenses? It means you're saying, oh, okay, it's nice. And it does, on the long run, rubbish the great work of General Buba Marwa and his
team. Thank you, the
NDLEA.
Yeah. So, Benga, Miriam Sanda was also granted pardon. The lady who killed her husband in 2020, proven she was sentenced to death. She's still around, and the president says, you know what, 2020, you killed your husband. It's fine. The family of the husband, they were in complete disarray, finding out that she had murdered her husband in cold blood with a knife. And at the end of the day, the president says, don't worry, you can go. How do you want the society to look at it? Secondly, there's a lot going on with what we're seeing here. And I just want to highlight some of them. One of them is this. What was the criteria for granting pardon to these individuals? Because some of them are murderers. Some committed murder. Some just stayed in prison for just 2 years. Some stayed for just 4 years. Some who were sentenced for life had just done maybe 4 or 5 years, and they say, okay, you know what, you're good to go. Secondly, you had mentioned, what does it do for the morale of the security agencies? The NDLEA, the police, the Nigerian army, those who have put their blood, sweat, and tears to ensure that they curb crime. And all of a sudden, they see people who they had, you know,
and the general message that, you know what, there's a risk to it, but I can do it. Maybe the president will pardon me in 2 or 3 years.
That's it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot.
I'll take my chances.
It's a conversation. I mean, I'm looking forward
and that's
to
why
that conversation later today.
That it won't be surprised if there's a slot and if it's paid for.
Right.
Sadly.
And then another thing would be optics. Elections are around the corner. And it's not, I don't think we can divorce the idea that every presidential move in this season will be interpreted as a strategic political move. So it's what is this trying to signify? What message is the presidency trying to communicate to the electorate? Again, we will revisit the conversation about the non-kinetic approach, and maybe it's time for us to take a deeper look at how we treat people who have committed offenses, not just offenses putting it lightly, people who have committed crime, how we treat
serious
criminals.
crime.
Kidnapping, for example, is a crime. And if we get to the point where we're now negotiating with terrorists in the sense of we're not using all the full force that we should use in fighting insecurity. I mean, the responsibility of any government is protecting its citizens, providing for the safety and security of citizens. And if you can't do that, and you're negotiating with these terrorists, and we're seeing a situation where you're granting them pardons, it communicates to the citizen that maybe you're not really, you don't value the citizens' lives as much
Absolutely.
as you value the ones of the terrorists. So again, it's a really dicey thing to look at.
I also want to say, was it really necessary, the Herbert Macaulay pardon? This man is resting in peace and you're invoking his name.
Well, sometimes.
No, because if you're going to do Herbert Macaulay, then you should do Michael Imodu, the former Labour leader. You should do Obafemi Awolowo. They were imprisoned at the Majesty's Broad Street Prison. That's Freedom Park. Today, there's a whole list of them. So let's go back in history and then start posthumous.
I also back in history. Even Ken Saro-Wiwa, there are those who would argue saying that it's not a pardon because if it shouldn't be a pardon, it should be more of you saying an exoneration, admitting to the guilt of his unjust killing and exonerating him.
Because if anyone, it was the British colonial government that charged Herbert Macaulay, not the federal government of Nigeria.
So the federal government, in other words,
1960. So if the government wants to do anything, they can start from 1960. Why are you going back in history? Let's go back and pardon Jaja of Okubo. That was that was exiled.
You know, for me, it's also the fact that the pardon also comes. I think, I mean, with all due respect, it reeks of disrespect at the same time, because you are pardoning great names like that. And under that, you're also pardoning drug peddlers.
So you have
it doesn't look good. I want to strongly believe that the president didn't really look at the list. I want to believe so. I just believe he trusted on his aides to do a good job. And I want to believe that there wasn't proper scrutiny, because if there was, if they, like you mentioned, Enon, and I agree, if they had sat down and say, okay, who are these names? Why? What kind of message are we going to pass on to the people? What does this do to our security architecture? Nigeria is battling insecurity. Crazy battle. And yet, we've still not been able to nip it in the bud. And here we are, we're passing a message to the security or chiefs and operatives that, listen, catch all you want to catch. If I decide to release them, I will let them go.
Very sad. Anyway, in the spirit of pardoning, I would like to request Olive to pardon me. There was a day on television before, when we had this table to cover our legs.
Yes.
I exposed you for who you are. You were wearing Crocs on set. Have you pardoned me?
I have pardoned.
You've been pardoned.
God will forgive you.
Okay. You know what? I pardon.
You remember?
I remember. I remember. I would never forget that.
What's that color of that Crocs again?
White Crocs. The Crocs is actually behind this.
Okay, all right.
And then Benga told the whole world that I was
that
wearing
Crocs has had more feature on live TV than portable.
Anyway, I pardon you. Let's share with you our top stories this morning on Breakfast Central. This morning on Breakfast Central, former Vice President Alhaji Atiku Abubakar slams President Tinubu over what he referred to as a reckless presidential pardon. Nigeria engages USA in diplomatic talks over Christian genocide allegations. University Union declares 2 weeks strike. ASU, of course, is in the news again, and not for great reason this time. Federal government threatens to invoke no work, no pay policy on ASU. And there we go again. We bring you the newspaper front pages this morning. Join us for all these and more on Breakfast Central.